Okay, this is a heavy watch. The Netflix original movie Pieces of a Woman is now out. It's been garnering a lot of critical acclaim, but does it deserve it? When a young mother's home birth ends in unfathomable tragedy, she begins a year-long odyssey of mourning that fractures relationships with loved ones in this deeply personal story of a woman learning to live alongside her loss. After the opening scene, for just about the first 30 minutes, there is a continuous take, and it is one of the most intense scenes in a movie that I have seen in quite a while. My heart was pounding so hard, my stomach was in my throat, and it is powerful. In one sense, it reminded me a lot of the living room fight scene in A Marriage Story. I mean, raw, powerful, touching, emotional, devastating. Vanessa Kirby, Shia LaBeouf, and Ellen Burstyn star. Kirby and LaBeouf are a married couple who must try to pick up the pieces of their life when their home birth just doesn't go as planned. I really like the cinematography here. I love how the camera will keep us at an arm's length from the scene and the characters, but then bring us right up into the middle of the dialogue after. I mean, we get to experience what Kirby is going through as well as LaBeouf through these two different framing choices. I mean, it really does separate the two and bring them together. The dialogue is raw, and I like how there's like a lot of mumbles, kind of like this or type of sentiments, because it rings true to just regular conversations between regular people. We don't always articulate clearly things, especially when the relationship is close. We're more apt to grunt some sort of approval. There are some great symbolic images used in this too. There's an exercise ball that is purposely deflated, indoor plants that are drooping and dying, seeds germinating, bridge construction. Each of these helps to illustrate the mindsets and emotions of our characters. I also love how the movie doesn't make the long take at the beginning of the movie its only cinematic trick. They employ it again at a family get-together, and it is just as powerful. As the scene progresses, we get a tremendous exchange between Kirby and Burstyn. The camera at times doesn't break away from Burstyn, and it shows just how great of an actress she is. There's also points where it focuses just on Kirby and other dialogue is going on, and it may not even be about Kirby or even in a conversation that she's involved in, and yet she's experiencing it, and we are watching her emotional response to what she is hearing and what the conversation is about in the background. This really is a beautiful film too. Its peaceful imagery contrasts with the devastating grief that the characters experience, and it creates this really intense mood. And I gotta say, just about every scene in this is heartbreaking. I mean, the movie does dive in deep to examine the grief of the family in all its various forms. Each character is going through loss in their different ways, and just about from the home birth scene on, the movie is non-stop tense. Not in the mystery sense, but in the emotionally draining, grip you by the collar, stare directly into your soul kind of way. There are large portions of the film that are dialogue free. They're only carried by the music and just the contemplative actions by our characters. I enjoy these parts because it drew my attention in, allowing me to be sucked into the scenes. I'm though not thrilled with all of the audio. Sometimes the dialogue drops and makes it difficult to hear, and it's a little like Tenet, just not as dramatic of the highs and the lows. Sometimes the scene changes needed a bit more context for me. There are a few times where I can't tell how much time has passed or if it was actually the same day. I mean, typically there is a date given when large portions of time have gone by, and then there are also some scenes that just kind of happen. And I understand what's going on and what is meant by them, but how a character got there and how it unveiled isn't shown or explained. So we're just supposed to go along with it, and I found that hard to do a couple of times. While I said I really liked the cinematography, there are some points where I didn't really get the framing choices. There's a scene where Kirby's character is contemplating something, and the shot moves to a close-up of the side of her neck. At first I thought it was like to maybe show her increasing pulse because it's an emotional scene. But after they repeated the shot a couple of times, I couldn't see any pulse, and I was left trying to figure out why that particular shot was made, and repeatedly. I get that this may not resonate with everybody. As engaging as I found it, the pace is patient, and because of the longer scenes without dialogue, it can feel slow. It's also emotional, and some of it is a quiet emotionality, which also can add to that feeling of slowness. This is pretty depressing for the majority of the film. I mean, I do really enjoy the journey that Kirby's character goes along. There's some real great growth in her story that it's really powerful. And it also helps to provide a small glimpse of hope as the story wraps up. I mean, it's not all smiles and rainbows, but I do feel some of the tension release as we get to the finish of the film. And I certainly think that both Kirby and Burstyn could be recognized for some awards. Their performances are really that good. There is sex, nudity, profanity, but not really any violence. I give Pieces of a Woman 4 out of 5 couches. So if you've been looking forward to this one, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.